My dear friends, for too long, you have been taught that you are powerless, that life happens to you, that you must accept whatever circumstances have been dealt to you. But I tell you now, with every fiber of my being, with every breath of truth that flows through me, this is the greatest lie ever told to man. You are not powerless. You are not victims. You are not at the mercy of a cruel and capricious fate. The universe, this magnificent, responsive, living field of infinite possibility, is not your master. It is your servant. It does not command you. You command it. It does not dictate to you. You dictate to it. The universe will obey you, must obey you, because you are the operant power in your own experience. Today, I will strip away the veils of illusion that have kept you in bondage. I will show you the mechanics of creation itself. I will teach you to pray not as beggars, but as gods. For that is what you are. Gods in amnesia, creators who have forgotten their power, artists who have lost sight of their canvas. Listen carefully, for what I am about to tell you will shatter everything you think you know about the nature of existence. Reality, this solid, seemingly immutable world around you, is not what it appears to be. It is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is not even real in the way you have been taught to understand reality. Reality is consciousness, is mind. It is imagination made visible. The world you see, touch, and experience is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out, objectified, made manifest in the theater of space and time. I have seen the faces of those who believe themselves trapped by circumstances, and I have witnessed the transformation of those who discovered their power. The difference between them is not luck, not privilege, not even circumstances. It is understanding. The mystics of old knew this truth. They spoke in parables and symbols because the human mind, trapped in its limited understanding, could not grasp the full magnitude of what they were revealing. When they said the kingdom of heaven is within you, they were not speaking metaphorically. They were stating a literal fact. The power to create heaven on earth lies within your very consciousness. Modern science, in its relentless pursuit of truth, has stumbled upon this same revelation. At the quantum level, reality exists in a state of infinite potential, waves of possibility that collapse into particles of experience only when observed. You are that observer. You are the one who chooses, moment by moment, which possibility becomes your reality. But here is where science and spirituality meet in perfect harmony. The observer is not passive. The observer is creative. The observer shapes reality through the very act of observation. And what determines the nature of that observation? Your assumptions, your beliefs, your dominant feeling states, your imagination. Assumption, this simple word, holds the key to all creation. When you assume something to be true, when you accept it as fact in your consciousness, you set in motion forces that must bring it to pass. The universe has no choice in the matter. It must conform to your assumptions, because assumption is the creative power of consciousness itself. I have seen miracles born from assumption. I have witnessed the impossible become inevitable through the power of one person's unwavering assumption. A woman assumes she is loved, and love flows to her from sources she never could have imagined. A man assumes he is successful, and opportunities appear as if the universe itself is conspiring to fulfill his assumption. But I have also seen the tragic power of negative assumption. People assume they are unlucky, and misfortune follows them like a shadow. They assume they are unworthy, and life reflects that unworthiness back to them in 1,000 painful ways. They assume they are limited, and limitation becomes their prison. The universe does not judge your assumptions. It does not deem them right or wrong, good or bad. It simply obeys them. It is the perfect servant, responding to your every command with mathematical precision. But understand this: your assumptions are your commands. Every assumption you hold is an order given to the universe, and the universe must fill that order. This is why I implore you to examine your assumptions with the care of a jeweler examining a precious stone. What are you assuming about yourself? About your possibilities? About your worth? About your future? These assumptions are not idle thoughts. They are the very blueprints from which your reality is constructed. I remember a man who came to me in despair. He had been unemployed for months, and everywhere he looked, he saw only rejection and closed doors. The world is against me, he said. There are no opportunities for someone like me. I looked at him with compassion and said, my friend, you are absolutely right. As long as you assume there are no opportunities, there will be none. As long as you assume the world is against you, it will be. But what if you dared to assume the opposite? This man, through practice and persistence, began to assume that opportunities were everywhere, that the world was eager to reward his talents, that he was exactly what employers were looking for. Within weeks, not days, but weeks, his world transformed. The same employers who had previously rejected him were now calling him. The same world that had seemed hostile now appeared friendly and welcoming. What changed? Not the world. The world is always neutral. What changed was his assumption, and with it, his reality. Oh, but how the word prayer has been corrupted, how it has been twisted into an act of begging, of pleading, of desperate supplication to a distant and often indifferent God. I tell you now, this is not prayer, this is spiritual poverty. True prayer is not begging or asking. True prayer is not hoping or wishing or pleading. It is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the conscious act of inhabiting the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire already being real. When you pray effectively, you do not reach outward with empty hands. You reach inward to the infinite storehouse of possibilities that exists within your own consciousness. You select the reality you wish to experience, and you feel it as true. You inhabit it. You become it. I have taught this truth for decades, and I have seen it transform lives in ways that would be called miraculous if people understood that miracles are simply the natural result of conscious creation. A mother prays for her child's healing, not by begging a distant God, but by assuming the feeling of her child already being whole and perfect. A man prays for abundance not by pleading for money, but by inhabiting the consciousness of already being prosperous. This is the prayer that moves mountains, that parts the waters, that brings the dead back to life. Not because it convinces some external deity to intervene, but because it aligns consciousness with the reality that already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. When you pray as I teach you to pray, you do not pray for something to happen. You pray from the reality of it already having happened. You thank the universe, not for what you hope to receive, but for what you already possess in consciousness. You feel the gratitude, the joy, the relief of having received what you desire. And here is the beautiful paradox. The moment you truly feel your desire as already fulfilled, the desire itself disappears. You no longer want it because you have it. You no longer seek it because you are it. You have closed the gap between desire and fulfillment, not by getting what you want, but by becoming what you want. If assumption is the seed, then feeling is the soil in which that seed grows. Without feeling, assumption is merely an intellectual exercise. With feeling, assumption becomes a creative force that reshapes reality itself. Feeling is the secret. These words contain more power than entire libraries of philosophy. Your feeling state is your creative state. Your emotions are not just reactions to circumstances, they are the very forces that create circumstances. I have observed people who intellectually understand these principles, but fail to apply them successfully. They know that assumption creates reality, but they cannot seem to manifest their desires. Why? Because they are missing the crucial element, feeling. They assume with their minds, but not with their hearts. They think the right thoughts, but do not feel the right feelings. The universe does not respond to your thoughts. It responds to your feelings. It responds to your emotional state. It responds to the vibration you emit through your being. When you feel truly abundant, you attract abundance. When you feel genuinely loved, you attract love. When you feel deeply grateful, you attract more reasons to be grateful. But here is where most people stumble. They try to feel good about their current circumstances instead of feeling good about their desired circumstances. They wait for evidence before they allow themselves to feel fulfilled. They make their emotional state dependent on external conditions. This is backwards. This is the thinking of the old world, the world of effect, rather than cause. You do not feel good because good things happen to you. Good things happen to you because you feel good. You do not feel loved because someone loves you. Someone loves you because you feel loved. I remember a woman who came to me broken-hearted. She had been rejected by the man she loved, and she was convinced that she was unlovable. Her heart was closed. Her spirit was crushed, and she radiated the energy of rejection and unworthiness. How can I attract love? She asked me, when I feel so unloved. I said to her, my dear, you have the sequence reversed. You do not wait to feel loved until someone loves you. You feel loved first, and then someone must love you. The universe is a mirror, and it can only reflect back to you what you are already being. She began to practice feeling loved, not because of any external reason, but simply because she chose to feel loved. She imagined herself being cherished, adored, treasured. She felt the warmth of being held, the joy of being chosen, the security of being valued. She did this not once, but daily, until this feeling became her natural state. Within months, not one but several men entered her life, each recognizing in her the very quality she had been cultivating within herself. She had not changed anything external. She had simply changed her internal state, and the external world had no choice but to conform to that change. The goal of all these teachings is to help you live from the end. This means living not from the state of wanting your desire, but from the state of having it. It means not seeking what you wish to be, but being what you wish to be. It means not hoping for a different future, but living from that future now. Living from the end requires a fundamental shift in identity. You must become the version of yourself who naturally possesses what you desire. You must walk as that person, speak as that person, think as that person, feel as that person. When this becomes your natural state, not an act you put on, but the truth of who you are, manifestation is not just possible, it is inevitable. I have observed that people struggle with this concept because they confuse having with getting. They think living from the end means pretending to have what they don't have. But living from the end is not pretense, it is presence. It is being present to the reality that already exists in consciousness. A man who lives from the end of financial abundance does not pretend he has money when he doesn't. He lives from the consciousness of abundance. He feels abundant. He thinks abundant thoughts. He makes abundant choices. He radiates the energy of abundance. And because the universe must mirror consciousness, abundance has no choice but to manifest in his experience. This is the great paradox of creation. You must be it before you can have it. You must become it before you can receive it. You must live from it before you can live in it. The external world is always the effect, never the cause. Consciousness is always the cause, never the effect. I remember a young artist who dreamed of international recognition. She had talent, but she had not yet achieved the success she desired. I taught her to live from the end of already being a celebrated artist. She began to feel the gratitude of having her work displayed in galleries around the world. She imagined the joy of receiving accolades from critics and collectors. She felt the satisfaction of being recognized for her genius. At first, nothing seemed to change in her external circumstances. But gradually, subtly, her world began to shift. She started making different choices. She began to value her work differently. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. And the world, sensing this change in her, began to respond differently to her. Within 2 years, her work was being shown internationally. Critics were calling her a rising star. Collectors were seeking out her pieces. She had not become successful in order to feel successful. She had felt successful first, and success had followed as naturally as morning follows night. In the process of conscious creation, there comes a moment that is perhaps the most difficult for the human mind to understand and accept, the moment of rest. After you have assumed, after you have felt, after you have lived from the end, you must enter what I call the Sabbath, a state of perfect rest and complete trust. This is the moment when you stop trying to make it happen. This is the moment when you stop looking for signs and searching for evidence. This is the moment when you simply rest in the knowing that it is done. You have planted the seed in the fertile soil of consciousness. And now you must trust that it will grow in its own time and in its own way. This is where most people fail. They assume their desire fulfilled. They feel it as true. They live from the end. And then they immediately begin to worry about how it will manifest. They look for signs of its coming. They become anxious when they don't see immediate results. They dig up the seed to see if it's growing. But the law of manifestation requires a period of gestation. Just as a seed must spend time in the darkness of the soil before it can break through into the light, your assumption must spend time in the darkness of the invisible before it can emerge into the visible. This is not delay. This is the natural rhythm of creation. During this Sabbath period, you must guard your assumption jealously. You must not allow doubt to creep in. You must not allow impatience to disturb your peace. You must not allow the evidence of your senses to contradict the truth of your assumption. You must rest in the certainty that what you have assumed is already true in the only realm that matters, the realm of consciousness. I have seen people manifest their desires in days, and I have seen others take months or even years. The difference is not in the difficulty of the desire, it is in the quality of the Sabbath. Those who manifest quickly are those who enter the Sabbath completely. They assume, they feel, they rest, and they trust. They do not waver. They do not doubt. They do not interfere with the natural process of manifestation. As you practice these teachings, as you begin to live from the consciousness of your desires fulfilled, you will start to notice something magical happening in your world. Synchronicities will multiply. Meaningful coincidences will increase. The right people will appear at the right time. The right opportunities will present themselves. The right resources will become available. These are not accidents. These are not coincidences. These are the universe rearranging itself to match your new assumptions. These are the signs that your consciousness is successfully impressing itself upon the field of infinite possibility. Do not be surprised by these signs. Expect them. Do not be amazed by these synchronicities. Welcome them. But do not make the mistake of becoming so fascinated by the signs that you forget the state. The signs are the effect. The state is the cause. The signs are the shadow. The state is the substance. I remember a woman who was assuming the reality of her perfect marriage. She had been single for years, but she lived from the consciousness of being happily married. She felt the joy of sharing her life with someone who loved and cherished her. She imagined coming home to a loving partner. She felt the warmth of being chosen and valued. As she persisted in this assumption, signs began to appear. She would see couples everywhere, holding hands, laughing together, radiating love. She would overhear conversations about weddings and anniversaries. She would find herself in situations where she was surrounded by happily married people. Some might have seen these as painful reminders of what she didn't have, but she understood them as signs that her assumption was taking root in consciousness. Soon, a friend invited her to a small gathering. There, she met a man who seemed to recognize her instantly. Their conversation flowed effortlessly. Their connection was immediate and profound. Within a year they were married, and she found herself living the exact reality she had been assuming all along. The signs were not random. They were the bridge between her assumption and its manifestation. They were the universe's way of preparing her for the reality she had already claimed in consciousness. The deepest and most profound work of conscious creation is not the manifestation of things, it is the transformation of identity. When you truly understand and apply these teachings, you do not just get different results, you become a different person. You do not just change your circumstances, you change yourself. This transformation is not superficial. It is not merely a change in behavior or attitude. It is a fundamental shift in your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of circumstances. You begin to understand yourself not as a passive observer of life, but as an active participant in the creation of life. This shift in identity is perhaps the most precious gift these teachings can offer. Because once you know who you truly are, Once you understand your power, your divinity, your creative authority, you can never again be fooled into believing that you are powerless. You can never again be convinced that you are at the mercy of forces beyond your control. I have watched people undergo this transformation, and it is beautiful to behold. A man who once saw himself as unlucky begins to see himself as blessed. A woman who once believed she was unworthy begins to know herself as precious. A person who once felt powerless begins to recognize their infinite creative potential. This transformation is not immediate. It is a process. It requires patience, persistence, and practice. But every time you successfully assume a new reality and see it manifest, you strengthen your understanding of who you are. Every time you revise your past and see its effects change, you deepen your knowledge of your power. Every time you live from the end and watch the beginning rearrange itself, you confirm your divine nature. The path of conscious creation is not always easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. There will be times when the evidence of your senses contradicts your assumptions. There will be periods when it seems like nothing is working, when your desires seem as distant as ever. In these moments, remember that persistence is the price of admission to the kingdom of fulfilled desires. The universe is testing not your worthiness, but your commitment. It is asking not whether you deserve your desires, but whether you are willing to persist in your assumption despite contrary evidence. I have observed that most people give up just before their breakthrough. They assume, they feel, they even begin to see signs, and then they encounter a challenge that seems to contradict their assumption. Instead of persisting, they abandon their assumption and return to their old patterns of thought and feeling. But those who persist, who continue to assume despite contrary evidence, who maintain their feeling states despite challenging circumstances, these are the ones who experience what the world calls miracles. They are the ones who transform their lives completely. They are the ones who prove that the universe will indeed obey consciousness. Persistence does not mean strain or struggle. It means returning again and again to your assumption, to your feeling, to your state of being. It means gently correcting yourself when you slip back into old patterns. It means choosing your desired reality over and over again, regardless of what your senses tell you. But with great power comes great responsibility. When you understand that you are the creator of your experience, you must also accept responsibility for what you have created. This is not a burden, it is a liberation. Because if you created your current reality, you can create a different one. But this responsibility extends beyond yourself. When you know that consciousness creates reality, you become responsible for the consciousness you hold, not just about your own life, but about the world around you. You become responsible for the assumptions you make about others, the judgments you pass, the energy you contribute to the collective human experience. This is why I teach not just the mechanics of manifestation, but the ethics of creation. Use your power wisely. Assume the best for others as well as for yourself. See the world not as it appears, but as it could be. Hold the vision of a world filled with love, abundance, peace, and joy. Your individual consciousness contributes to the collective consciousness of humanity. I have seen people use these teachings to transform not just their own lives, but the lives of everyone around them. A teacher who sees the genius in every student helps those students discover their own brilliance. A parent who assumes the best for their children helps those children become their best selves. A leader who holds the vision of a thriving community helps that community thrive. My dear friends, as we conclude this journey together, I want you to understand one final crucial truth. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are not acquiring a power that is foreign to you. You are reclaiming a power that has always been yours. You are gods. You are creators. You are the artists of your own experience. This is your divine heritage. This is your birthright. This is not fantasy. This is your reality. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. The universe will serve you because you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively. The universe will respond to your consciousness because consciousness is all there is. You have been playing a game of hide and seek with yourself. You have been pretending to be powerless so that you could experience the joy of discovering your power. You have been pretending to be separate so that you could experience the bliss of remembering your unity. You have been pretending to be human so that you could experience the wonder of awakening to your divinity. But the game is over now. The hiding time is finished. It is time to seek and find. It is time to remember who you are, to reclaim your power, to step into your role as the conscious creator of your experience. The universe is waiting. It has always been waiting. It is your faithful servant, your obedient mirror, your loving partner in the dance of creation. Speak to it through your assumptions. Command it through your feelings. Direct it through your consciousness. And watch as it responds with perfect precision to your every instruction. You are not powerless. You are not victims. And you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You never were. You are the creators of circumstances, the authors of your story, the architects of your reality. The begging is over. The pleading is finished. The waiting is done. Go forth and create. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. And the universe always obeys itself. This is your truth, your power, your destiny. Claim it, live it, be it, and watch as the world transforms around you, reflecting back to you the magnificent reality of who you truly are.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to tell you something that will shock you, something that contradicts the entire positive thinking movement that has swept the world. Stop being positive. Stop trying to think positive thoughts. Stop forcing yourself to feel positive emotions. Stop pretending everything is wonderful when it is not. Because positive thinking, as it is commonly practiced, is one of the greatest obstacles to true manifestation. I can see the confusion on your faces. But Neville, you're thinking, haven't you taught us that our thoughts create reality? That we should think about what we want, not what we don't want? Yes, I have taught this. But there is a vast difference between conscious creation through assumption and the desperate, exhausting practice of positive thinking that most people engage in. And tonight, I am going to show you that difference. I am going to teach you what to be instead of positive. And when you understand this, when you make this shift, you will discover a power far greater than positive thinking could ever provide. Let me explain what is wrong with positive thinking. As most people practice it, positive thinking, as taught by the masses, is a reaction to negativity. It is an attempt to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. It is forcing yourself to smile when you want to cry. It is repeating affirmations while your heart screams the opposite. It is pretending everything is fine when you are actually drowning. This is not creation. This is suppression. And suppression does not change reality. It only buries your true feelings deeper, where they continue to create from the shadows. Watch what happens when someone practices positive thinking. They wake up feeling anxious about money. So they tell themselves, I am abundant. Money flows to me easily. But underneath the words, the anxiety remains. They are not changing their state. They are covering it up. They look at their empty bed and feel lonely. So they affirm, I am loved. My perfect partner is coming to me. But the loneliness is still there, hidden beneath the positive words. They are not creating love. They are denying loneliness. They receive a medical diagnosis and feel afraid. So they declare, I am perfectly healthy. My body is healing, but the fear persists, masked by positive statements. They are not assuming health. They are fighting sickness. This is the great deception of positive thinking. It keeps you in a state of resistance. You are resisting what is trying to cover it up with what you wish were true. And resistance is not creation. Resistance is struggle. And struggle cannot manifest. Here is what most people do not understand. It is not the words that create. It is the state of consciousness from which the words arise. You can speak the most positive affirmations. You can visualize the most wonderful outcomes. You can paste your walls with vision boards. But if underneath all of this, your consciousness is rooted in lack, in fear, in unworthiness, then lack, fear, and unworthiness is what you will create. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your state. And no amount of positive thinking can change your state if you are using positive thinking to avoid feeling what you actually feel. Let me tell you about a woman who came to me exhausted from positive thinking. She had been affirming abundance for 3 years. She had vision boards. She had mantras. She had positive affirmations on sticky notes all over her house. But she was still broke. In fact, her financial situation had gotten worse. I asked her, when you speak these affirmations, what do you feel? She said, I feel like I'm trying really hard to believe them. I feel like if I stop saying them, everything will fall apart. I feel desperate to make them true. There is your problem, I said. You are not creating from abundance. You are creating from desperation disguised as positivity. The universe does not hear your words. It feels your state. And your state is desperation, covered with a thin layer of positive thinking. She began to cry. But if I stop being positive, won't everything get worse? Won't I attract more negativity? No, I replied, because I am not asking you to be negative. I am asking you to be something far more powerful than either positive or negative. I am asking you to be certain. Here is what you should be. Instead of positive, be certain. Certainty is not positive or negative. Certainty is beyond both. Certainty is the unshakable knowing that what you desire is already yours. Regardless of current circumstances, regardless of evidence, regardless of what anyone else says or believes. Positive thinking says, I hope this works. I'm trying to believe, I'm focusing on the good. Certainty says, it is already done. There is nothing to hope for because it already is. There is nothing to try to believe because I already know. Do you see the difference? Positive thinking is effort. Certainty is rest. Positive thinking is hoping. Certainty is knowing. Positive thinking looks toward a desired future. Certainty recognizes a present fact. When you are certain, you do not need to be positive. You do not need to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. You simply know what is true, and you rest in that knowing. Think about something you are absolutely certain of. Perhaps that the sun will rise tomorrow. Perhaps that your name is your name. Do you need to think positively about these things? Do you need to affirm them? Do you need to convince yourself they are true? No. You simply know them. You are certain. And that certainty requires no effort, no maintenance, no positive thinking. This is the state you must cultivate for your desires. Not positive hoping, but certain knowing. So how do you become certain about something that has not yet appeared in your physical reality? How do you know something is yours when your senses tell you it is not? The answer lies in understanding where reality truly exists. Reality does not exist in the physical world. The physical world is merely a reflection, a shadow, an echo of reality. True reality exists in consciousness. When you desire something, and you assume in consciousness that it is already yours, it is yours at the level of reality that matters. It exists in consciousness, and consciousness is the only creative power. Once something exists in consciousness, its appearance in the physical world is inevitable. It is already done. This is how you cultivate certainty. You recognize that your desire is not something you must bring into existence. It already exists in consciousness the moment you assume it. And consciousness always projects itself into physical form. You are not hoping it will manifest. You are not trying to make it happen. You know it is already accomplished in consciousness. And you are simply waiting for the physical world to catch up and reflect what is already true. This knowing, this certainty requires no positive thinking. It requires no effort to maintain. It is simply a fact that you accept like you accept any other fact of your existence. Let me give you a practical example. The woman I mentioned earlier, who was exhausted from positive thinking, I taught her to replace her desperate affirmations with simple statements of certainty. Instead of saying money is flowing to me, with desperate hope, I taught her to say calmly and with finality, money is mine. It is already accomplished in consciousness. The physical appearance is just a matter of time. Instead of trying to feel positive about her empty bank account, I taught her to simply know I am financially secure. This is a fact in consciousness. The numbers will update to reflect this fact. No strain, no force, no desperate positivity, just calm, certain knowing. Within 2 months her income had tripled. But more importantly, she was at peace. She was no longer exhausted from trying to be positive. She was resting in certainty. Now let me clarify something important. What I am teaching you is not faith as opposed to positive thinking. Faith and certainty are the same thing. True faith is not hoping something will happen. It is knowing it is already done. It is certainty about the unseen reality of consciousness. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Most people read this and think faith is about hoping. But look more carefully. Faith is the substance, the actual reality of what you hope for. Faith is the evidence, the proof of what you cannot yet see. Faith is not hoping your desire will manifest. Faith is knowing your desire already exists in consciousness, which is the only reality that matters. This is certainty, and this is what positive thinking tries to be but fails to achieve. Positive thinking is hoping dressed up as confidence. Certainty is knowing that requires no dress. Now you may be wondering if I am not supposed to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. What am I supposed to do with them? The answer is simple. Observe them, acknowledge them, and then choose your state of consciousness regardless of them. When you feel anxious about money, do not try to think positive thoughts to make the anxiety go away. That is resistance. Instead, observe the anxiety. Acknowledge it. I am feeling anxious. Then choose your state. But anxiety is not my reality. My reality is abundance, which already exists in consciousness. I choose to rest in that certainty. When you feel lonely, do not force positive affirmations to cover the loneliness. Acknowledge it. I am feeling lonely right now. Then choose. But loneliness is a temporary feeling, not my permanent state. My reality is that I am loved. This is true in consciousness. And consciousness is what creates my experience. Do you see the difference? You are not denying your feelings. You are not suppressing them. You are not covering them up with false positivity. You are simply recognizing that feelings are temporary reactions to temporary circumstances. But your chosen state of consciousness is your true reality. This is mature spiritual practice, not the childish game of pretending everything is wonderful, but the powerful choice to identify with your desired state even while acknowledging current feelings and circumstances. Here is another important truth. Certainty does not require you to feel good all the time. Positive thinking says you must always feel happy, always feel abundant, always feel loving. If you feel bad, you are told you are attracting negativity, and you must immediately shift to positive thoughts. But certainty knows that you can feel however you feel, and it does not change what is true in consciousness. You can feel anxious and still be certain of abundance. You can feel lonely and still be certain of love. You can feel doubt and still be certain of your manifestation. Why? Because certainty is not a feeling. Certainty is a knowing, and knowing is deeper than feeling. You can feel all kinds of ways throughout your day, but underneath every feeling, there can be an unshakable knowing that your desire is already accomplished in consciousness. This knowing does not require constant positive emotion. It simply is. This is tremendously liberating. You no longer have to police your emotions. You no longer have to feel guilty when you have a bad day. You no longer have to force yourself to feel positive when you do not. You simply return to what you know. It is already done in consciousness. That is enough. So if you are not trying to be positive, how do you speak about your desires? How do you think about them? How do you maintain your manifestation without positive thinking? The answer is through calm assertion. Calm assertion is stating what is true in consciousness with the same certainty you would state any other fact. No excitement, no force, no desperate hope. Just simple, calm declaration of what is. Instead of excitedly affirming, I am so abundant, money is flowing to me from everywhere, you calmly assert, I am financially secure. This is established in consciousness. Instead of desperately visualizing your desire for hours, you briefly acknowledge, this is already mine in the dimension where all creation takes place. I claim it as my reality. Instead of constantly checking for signs and trying to stay positive about your manifestation, you simply know it is done. The physical world will reflect this in its own time. Notice the energy difference. Positive thinking is high energy, effortful, often desperate. Certainty is calm, settled, at rest. Which energy do you think is more powerful? Which energy suggests someone who truly has what they desire? If you truly owned a mansion, would you be excitedly affirming, I have a mansion, all day long? No. You would simply live in the mansion. You would take it for granted as a normal part of your life. This is the energy of certainty. This is what you should be instead of positive. Let me give you the ultimate distinction between positive thinking and certainty. Positive thinking tries to create reality. Certainty knows reality is already created in consciousness. Positive thinking is work, certainty is rest. Positive thinking looks to the future. Certainty recognizes the eternal now where all things already are. Positive thinking needs constant maintenance. Certainty is self-sustaining. Positive thinking fears negativity. Certainty is unmoved by temporary feelings and circumstances. Positive thinking is exhausting. Certainty is peaceful. So tonight I want you to make a commitment. Stop trying to be positive. Stop forcing positive thoughts. Stop covering up real feelings with fake positivity. Instead, cultivate certainty. Know that what you desire already exists in consciousness. Know that consciousness is the only creative power. Know that once something exists in consciousness, its physical manifestation is inevitable. Rest in this knowing. Return to this knowing. Live from this knowing. This is not positive thinking. This is something far more powerful. This is the certainty that moves mountains, that parts seas, that manifests the impossible. Be certain, be unshakable, be at rest in the knowledge that it is already done, and watch as your world transforms, not through the exhausting effort of positive thinking, but through the calm, certain knowing of one who understands where reality truly exists and how it truly operates. Stop being positive and be certain instead. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I want to talk to you about something that will completely change the way you see yourself and your life. I want to talk to you about the art of dreaming while awake. Now, when I say dream, I don't mean daydreaming. I don't mean fantasizing. I don't mean letting your mind wander aimlessly while you wait for life to happen to you. No, I mean something far more powerful, far more deliberate, far more creative than that. I mean the conscious use of your imagination to experience right now in this moment what you desire to experience in your world. You see, most people think there's a difference between their sleeping dreams and their waking life. They think the dream is unreal and the waking world is real. But I'm telling you tonight, there is no difference. None whatsoever. When you sleep at night and dream, where does that dream take place? In your mind, in your consciousness, in your imagination. And when you wake up in the morning and experience this world, where does this experience take place? In the same place, in your mind, in your consciousness, in your imagination. The only difference between your sleeping dream and your waking dream is that in your sleeping dream, you know you're dreaming at least once you wake up. But in your waking dream, you've forgotten that you're dreaming. You think this world is happening to you, that it's separate from you, that it's more real than your imagination. But it's not. This waking world is just as much a dream as the one you had last night. The only difference is that this is a shared dream, a collective dream, and you've been dreaming it for so long that you've convinced yourself it's solid, permanent, unchangeable. But I'm here to tell you, you can dream a new dream right now, while awake. And that new dream, if you persist in it, will become your waking reality. This is not theory, this is not philosophy. This is the mechanics of creation. You are dreaming your life into being every single moment. The question is, are you dreaming consciously or unconsciously? Are you dreaming deliberately or by default? Most people dream by default. They wake up in the morning, look at their circumstances, and their imagination simply replays yesterday. They imagine more of what they already have. They expect more of what they've already experienced. And so their waking dream continues in the same pattern, the same groove, the same limitations. But you don't have to do that. You can dream a different dream. You can use your imagination right now while fully awake to experience something entirely new. Let me tell you what I mean. When you go to sleep at night and you dream, you don't question the reality of that dream while you're in it, do you? If you dream you're walking on a beach, you feel the sand beneath your feet. If you dream you're talking to a friend, you hear their voice. If you dream you're afraid, your heart races, The dream feels completely real while you're experiencing it. And that's because in that moment it is real, it's real in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality there is. Now what if you could do that while awake? What if you could close your eyes right now, while sitting in your chair, and imagine yourself into a completely different state? What if you could feel yourself in the wish fulfilled, so vividly, so naturally that it becomes real to you in consciousness? That's what I mean by dreaming while awake. It's the deliberate use of your imagination to enter into the feeling of your desire being already fulfilled. Not thinking about it, not wishing for it, but actually experiencing it in imagination as though it were happening now. I remember a time when I was struggling. I had a vision of where I wanted to be, who I wanted to become, but my circumstances seemed to contradict that vision at every turn. I could have looked at my circumstances and said, "This is reality. I must accept this. I must be realistic." But instead I chose to dream while awake. Every day I would sit quietly and imagine myself living the life I desired. I didn't imagine it as something in the future. I imagined it now. I felt myself already there. I heard the congratulations of friends. I felt the satisfaction of achievement. I experienced in my imagination the reality I desired. And I persisted in that dream, day after day, night after night. And slowly, sometimes it seemed too slowly, the outer world began to conform to my inner dream. Opportunities appeared. Circumstances shifted. People came into my life. And before long I was living the very reality I had been dreaming while awake. Was it magic? Was it coincidence? No, it was law. It was the law of consciousness. The law that says whatever you are conscious of, whatever you experience in imagination, must eventually manifest in your world. You see, your imagination is not separate from reality. Your imagination is the creative force that shapes reality. When you imagine something vividly, when you feel it real, you are not pretending. You are actually creating. You are impressing upon consciousness the pattern that must later appear in your world. Most people use their imagination unconsciously. They imagine the worst. They replay their fears. They rehearse their problems. And then they wonder why their life is filled with more of what they don't want. But you can change that. You can take control of your imagination. You can decide what you will dream while awake. There was a woman I knew who was desperate to change her living situation. She was in a small, cramped apartment that she hated. Every day she would complain about it. She would look around at those walls and feel trapped. She would imagine herself stuck there forever. And I said to her, "Stop dreaming that dream. Dream a different dream. Right now, while you're awake, close your eyes and imagine yourself in the home you desire. Walk through the rooms. Feel the space. Look out the windows. Make it so real in your imagination that you can't tell the difference between that and this." She was skeptical. She said, "But that's just pretending. That's not real." And I said, "What do you think this is?" I gestured to the apartment around us. "This is also imagination. This is also a dream. The only difference is that you've been dreaming this dream for so long that you've accepted it as fixed. But if you will dream a new dream and persist in it, this too will fade and the new will appear." She decided to try it. Every night before sleep, and often during the day, she would close her eyes and dream while awake. She would imagine herself in a beautiful, spacious home. She would feel the joy of it. She would experience the relief of having what she desired. And within a few months, I kid you not, an opportunity came that she never could have predicted. A relative offered her a place. The rent was affordable. It was everything she had imagined. Some would call it luck, but I call it the natural result of dreaming while awake. Now, let me be very clear about what I mean by this. When I say dream while awake, I don't mean to escape from your life. I don't mean to live in fantasy while ignoring your responsibilities. I mean to use your imagination as the creative tool it was designed to be. Your imagination is not for entertainment. It's not for passing the time. It's for creation. It's for molding and shaping the reality you wish to experience. Every great thing that has ever been accomplished in this world began as someone's waking dream. The inventor dreams of his invention before it exists. The artist dreams of her painting before she touches brush to canvas. The musician dreams of the symphony before a single note is played. They all dream while awake. They see in their imagination what does not yet exist in the outer world. And then through the mysterious law of consciousness, that inner dream becomes outer reality. You have the same power. You are using it right now, whether you know it or not. The question is, what are you dreaming? What are you imagining? What are you feeling real in consciousness? Because I promise you, whatever you are dreaming while awake, that is what will appear in your world. If you dream poverty, you will see poverty. If you dream illness, you will experience illness. If you dream loneliness, you will be lonely. Not because the world is doing this to you, but because you are dreaming it into being. But if you will discipline your imagination, if you will take control of what you allow yourself to experience in consciousness, you can dream anything, absolutely anything. You want health? Dream it. Feel yourself healthy. Experience in imagination the vitality and energy of perfect health. Don't wait for the symptoms to disappear before you imagine health. Dream health now, while awake, and persist in that dream. You want love? Dream it. Imagine yourself loved. Feel the warmth of companionship. Experience the joy of mutual affection. Don't wait for the person to appear before you feel loved. Dream love now, and the person must come. You want success? Dream it. See yourself successful. Feel the satisfaction of achievement. Experience the respect and admiration you desire. Don't wait for the accomplishment before you feel successful. Dream success now, and the accomplishment must follow. This is the secret. This is what I've been trying to tell you in 100 different ways. You are the dreamer, dreaming this life into being, and you can change the dream anytime you choose. Simply by changing what you imagine, what you feel, what you experience in consciousness. But here's the key. You must dream while awake. Not just once. Not just when you feel like it. But persistently, faithfully. Until the dream becomes so real to you that you no longer distinguish between the inner dream and the outer reality. When you reach that point, when your waking dream feels just as real as your current circumstances, that's when the shift happens. That's when the outer world must conform. It has no choice. Consciousness is the only reality, and all things must bow to consciousness. I've seen this happen countless times. I've lived it myself. And I'm telling you, as someone who has tested this law over and over again, it works. It always works. If you will dream while awake and persist in that dream, it must become your reality. The mystics understood this. They spoke of waking sleep and sleeping wakefulness. They knew that most people are asleep while they think they're awake, and that the truly awakened person is the one who consciously dreams their world into being. Scripture tells us to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you renew your mind? By dreaming a new dream, by imagining a new reality, by experiencing in consciousness something different than what your senses report. This is not denial. This is not avoidance. This is creation. This is the conscious use of the only creative power you have, your imagination. So tonight I want you to try something. Before you go to sleep, I want you to dream while awake. Close your eyes, relax your body, and imagine yourself living the life you desire. Don't imagine it in the future. Imagine it now. Make it vivid. Make it real. Engage all your senses. Where are you? Who is with you? What do you see around you? How do you feel? What are people saying to you? Let yourself experience it fully, as though it were happening in this very moment. And then carry that dream with you. Return to it throughout your day. Remind yourself of it. Let it become more real to you than your current circumstances. Because I promise you, if you will persist in this dream, if you will make it your dwelling place in consciousness, it must manifest. The outer world must conform to the inner dream. It cannot do otherwise. You are the dreamer. You've always been the dreamer. The only question is, what will you dream? Will you continue to dream the same old dream? The dream of limitation and lack? Or will you dare to dream something new, something wonderful, something that makes your heart sing? The choice is yours. But I'm telling you, you are already dreaming. You're dreaming right now. This moment is your dream made visible. So dream consciously, dream deliberately, dream beautifully, dream while awake, and watch as your waking world transforms to match the dream you've been dreaming in consciousness. Thank you and good evening. Remember, the power to transform your life lies within your own wonderful human imagination. Dare to assume you are what you want to be, and remain faithful to that assumption. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
My friends, tonight I want to share with you something that will completely revolutionize your relationship with money. But first, let me ask you this. How long have you been chasing financial security? How many years have you struggled, worried, strained, and lived in fear, living life like a desperate beggar, rather than recognizing your true divine inheritance? What if I told you that tonight your struggle ends? What if I told you that before this evening is over, you will learn one powerful sentence, a sacred decree that has the divine power to shift your entire financial consciousness and allow money to find you effortlessly? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is not theory. It's the very law by which this universe operates. You see, my friends, money is not meant to be chased. Money is meant to respond to your spoken word, your clear assumption, your consciousness of already being the person you wish to be. Your word is law in your world, and the universe, which is nothing more than your own wonderful imagination, pushed out, listens closely, waiting for the exact moment when your consciousness issues a clear and uncompromising decree. Money, in its truest sense, is simply consciousness made manifest. It is obedient spiritual substance that moves according to your assumptions. Up until now, you may have unknowingly held assumptions of scarcity, limitation, or delay, wondering why abundance seems to avoid you. But tonight, that misunderstanding is permanently corrected. Tonight, you will learn the one sentence that instructs your own infinite imagination, the divine intelligence of your consciousness, to open every hidden doorway of abundance. Tonight, you shift your financial destiny. Money will no longer evade you. It will seek you out, find you, follow you, and flow to you effortlessly and ceaselessly. You will no longer live in financial anxiety. You will live in divine certainty. Because when you learn to speak correctly, when you learn to assume correctly, you will understand clearly and completely that wealth is not accidental, it is consciousness. Wealth is not hard-won, it is spiritually assumed. And tonight, your imagination becomes the divine instrument that releases your inheritance. Prepare your consciousness. Quiet your doubt. You have arrived at the turning point. And from this moment forward, your financial life will never be the same again. The universe, my friends, is not ruled by luck. It is ruled by law. Precise, immutable, divine law. And among the highest of these is the law of assumption expressed through the spoken word. From the beginning, consciousness created everything. Let there be light, and there was light. The word was not a suggestion. It was not a hope. It was an assumption crystallized into manifestation. And that same divine authority has been given to you. Your voice is not decoration. It is creative force. Every word you speak carries the vibration of your assumption, and every assumption issues instruction to the substance of your consciousness. When you speak from the feeling of lack, that lack becomes your experience. When you speak from the assumption of abundance, abundance becomes your reality. So when I tell you that a single sentence can bring money to you, I speak not from fantasy, but from eternal law. The scripture declares, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." It does not say you must understand it, or earn it, or deserve it. It says you must decree it, you must assume it to be true. To decree means to issue a spiritual verdict, a final assumption. It is spoken from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be, not from the beggar consciousness of wanting what you don't have. Most people, when it comes to money, speak like beggars. They ask, plead, worry, and wonder, but they do not assume. They say, I hope I can afford it, or I'm always broke, or money just doesn't come easily to me. And so the law of consciousness, being perfectly obedient, fulfills those exact assumptions. You see, the spoken word is not metaphorical. It's mechanical. It sets law into motion. It places the machinery of manifestation into movement. It opens or closes the gates of supply according to the assumption behind it. Money does not move based on emotion or struggle. It moves according to consciousness, according to assumption. And the clearest way to shift that assumption is through bold, rhythmic, feeling-toned speech that comes from the end, from already being the prosperous person you desire to be. There is no neutrality in assumption. Every thought is a cause, every feeling is a command, and most people are assuming poverty with their daily mental diet. This is too expensive, they say. I never have enough, they sigh. And then they wonder why money seems to hide. But the one who understands law knows that money is not scarce. It is not cruel. It is not hiding. It is simply waiting for a clear assumption from a consciousness aligned with abundance. Let this truth penetrate your very being. Money is not attracted by effort. It is attracted by assumption. And that assumption is expressed not through stress, but through the feeling of already having what you desire, crystallized in speech. When you begin to speak as one who already possesses what you seek, everything in your consciousness begins to shift. Opportunities appear, resources manifest, doors that were locked swing wide, not because you hustled, but because you assumed, because you spoke from the end. Do not underestimate the power of words spoken from the right consciousness. The right sentence spoken from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, with rhythmic repetition, with unwavering assumption, can undo a lifetime of financial limitation. It can uproot generations of poverty thinking. It can rewire the subconscious patterns and instruct your divine imagination to manifest money swiftly, generously, and without resistance. This is not positive thinking, my friends. This is not wishful hoping. This is law. The same law that governs the tides, the planets, the seasons. And it does not fail. It does not sleep. It does not argue. It simply fulfills your dominant assumption, whether that assumption is rooted in fear or in faith. The world says you must work harder, try more, figure it out, stay up late, and fight your way forward. But the truth says, speak the word only, and thy servant shall be healed. The truth says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. The truth says your word is your creative power. So what are you doing with that power? Are you speaking as a creator or as a victim? Are you assuming your wealth or lamenting your lack? You cannot speak two languages and expect clarity from consciousness. You cannot assume abundance in the morning and complain about money in the afternoon and expect divine supply to manifest. For law is clear. It responds to your dominant assumption, and your dominant assumption is established by repetition, rhythm, and feeling. You must choose today to become disciplined in speech, not casual, not reactive, but deliberate, bold, and feeling-toned. Because your life reflects your assumptions, and your assumptions are crystallized through your language. If your bank account is in disorder, examine your mental conversations. If your debts multiply, check your assumptions. If your needs always outweigh your income, look not to the economy. Look to your consciousness. Look to your tongue. For your imagination is the gateway through which divine supply either flows or is blocked. When you speak from fear, you activate the law of assumption in reverse. You assume lack, and lack becomes your experience. You say, I can't afford this, and the law says, as you have assumed, so shall it be. You say it's always something, and the law answers, let it be done according to your assumption. You say, money never stays with me, and so it becomes your experience. The law is not punishing you, it is serving you, but it cannot serve what you refuse to assume. So I instruct you now, from this day forward, you will not allow your consciousness to entertain a single assumption of lack. You will not repeat the world's vocabulary of limitation. You will assume only what you wish to experience. You will speak only what you desire to manifest. For your word is the mold, and divine substance is the material that fills it. If your bank account is in disorder, examine your mental conversations. If your debts multiply, check your assumptions. If your needs always outweigh your income, look not to the economy. Look to your consciousness. Look to your tongue. For your imagination is the gateway through which divine supply either flows or is blocked. When you speak from fear, you activate the law of assumption in reverse. You assume lack, and lack becomes your experience. You say, I can't afford this, and the law says, as you have assumed, so shall it be. You say it's always something, and the law answers, let it be done according to your assumption. You say, money never stays with me, and so it becomes your experience. The law is not punishing you, it is serving you. But it cannot serve what you refuse to assume. So I instruct you now, from this day forward, you will not allow your consciousness to entertain a single assumption of lack. You will not repeat the world's vocabulary of limitation. You will assume only what you wish to experience. You will speak only what you desire to manifest. For your word is the mold, and divine substance is the material that fills it. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you engage with the world, you will speak. Every evening, before you lay your head down, you will speak. You will speak clearly. You will speak from the feeling of already being provided for. You will speak not as a beggar, but as one who recognizes their divine inheritance. You will speak not as a seeker, but as one who has found. For consciousness is a fountain of life, and today your consciousness becomes a fountain of wealth. Do not wait until you feel rich to speak as the rich speak. Speak it first. The feeling will follow your assumption. Conditions will obey your consciousness. This is the divine order of creation. The word goes first. The spoken assumption creates the invisible pattern. Then and only then does it become visible in your experience. And when you speak, speak with feeling, speak with rhythm, speak with the absolute conviction that what you assume is already established in consciousness. Do not wonder if it's working. Know that it must, because law never fails. So now I ask you, are you ready to speak like one who knows their true identity? Are you ready to issue assumptions of abundance to your consciousness, not from fear, but from divine authority? Are you ready to stop seeking and start being? Then prepare your consciousness, because now I will give you an exact sentence, a spiritual decree tested by time, proven by law, and fulfilled by consciousness. This sentence does not ask for money. It assumes it. It does not beg for supply. It claims it. And when you speak it rhythmically, daily, faithfully, and from the proper feeling, money must find you. The sentence is this: Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. This is not poetic language, my friends. This is spiritual command. This is a living key forged in divine truth. When spoken from the proper consciousness, it moves mountains, dissolves delays, and releases divine provision through channels your rational mind could never predict. You are not speaking to a person. You are not pleading with an institution. You are issuing instruction to infinite consciousness, your source, your supply, the divine presence that orchestrates all visible manifestation. Let us examine this sacred sentence, word by word, so your soul may grasp its depth and your consciousness may assume it with unwavering authority. Infinite Spirit, you begin by addressing the source, not the job, not the bank, not the market. You bypass all limited channels and speak directly to the infinite. For money is not generated by man. It is distributed through man, but it flows from consciousness, from God, from your own wonderful imagination. When you say Infinite Spirit, you are declaring that your faith is not in economy, but in consciousness itself. You recognize that divine intelligence is the origin of all wealth. You return your attention to the storehouse of imagination, not the limitations of the world. Open the way. This is assumption in action, not suggestion. You are instructing divine law to remove all subconscious interference, dissolve every unseen block, and reveal the open door through which your supply flows. This is the law of non-resistance. You are not forcing outcomes. You are removing the assumption of obstacles. You are not pushing. You are assuming the way is already open. And consciousness, being perfect intelligence, knows exactly what channels must manifest. It may be a phone call, a canceled debt, a job offer, a creative idea, but it will be the perfect way, the natural way, the way that unfolds with ease. You do not decide how, you assume that the way is open. For my immediate supply. You do not assume for one day, you do not hope for someday. You assume now, you assume immediacy. Divine delay is never divine denial, but many have assumed vaguely, hoping for eventual provision. No more. You assume your immediate supply, because you know that in consciousness, there is no time. There is only divine order. What is yours exists already in the invisible realm of imagination. The only delay is in your assumption. But now, having assumed lawfully, you claim your supply in this moment. Not rushed, not desperate, but right on divine schedule, which is now. This portion of the sentence sets into motion the spiritual machinery that bypasses limitation, breaks through resistance, and floods your experience with provision. It is the law of assumption, replacing fear with faith. It is the law of manifestation, magnetizing invisible supply into visible form. As you speak these words, know that you are not merely repeating a spiritual formula. You are issuing a divine assumption. You are commanding consciousness to move, the channels to open, and the wealth already assigned to your experience to arrive without delay. You do not merely say this sentence, you assume it. You do not recite it from memory. You speak it from consciousness. You speak it as one who knows, one who no longer wonders, one who no longer doubts, one who has ceased from seeking and begun being. Let all that is mine, by divine right. These are not the possessions of ego, nor the riches of greed. These are not stolen treasures or hurried gains. These are the things that belong to you by spiritual law, already assigned, already prepared, already complete in consciousness. This phrase affirms that you do not steal what belongs to another, nor fear that your good interferes with someone else's blessing. You are not in competition, you are in assumption. When you say by divine right, you are assuming alignment with the highest good for all. You are invoking the law of harmony, blessings that bless everyone involved. There is no guilt in this supply, no confusion, no compromise, only perfect provision manifesting in perfect ways. Now reach me. This is the assumption of magnetic reception. You are not sending your good into the distance. You are assuming it into the now. You are issuing a retrieval command. These words dissolve all imaginary barriers. Time, fear, distance, disbelief. They remove the waiting room. They cancel delay. You speak not from lack trying to attract. You speak from law, assuming what is already yours. There is no begging in this consciousness. There is no uncertainty, only confident assumption. In great avalanches of abundance. This final phrase is sacred power. This is consciousness accepting no limitation. You are not assuming pennies or trickles. You are assuming avalanches, not drops but downpours, not portions but floods, not limited help but total overflow. This is the law of abundance in motion. You do not limit consciousness to small answers. You allow yourself to receive on the level of divine surplus. The avalanche metaphor is deliberate. Avalanches are massive, sudden, unstoppable. And that is how your good will appear when you assume this sentence with rhythm and conviction. Not by small, predictable channels, but by surprising, immense, undeniable manifestation. You may wake to news that erases your debt. You may be offered a position you never expected. You may receive a refund, a return, a reward, a release you cannot calculate. You cannot predict the channel, but you must trust the law. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. Speak this sentence daily, morning and night. Speak it when fear rises. Speak it when doubt tries to whisper. Speak it when lack appears to threaten. For this sentence is your spiritual sword. It cuts through appearances and commands divine reality to manifest. Speak it aloud, with rhythm, with breath, with finality. Do not mumble. Do not apologize. You are not a beggar. You are divine consciousness individualized. And let me say this clearly. It is not the sentence alone that brings the supply. It is the consciousness behind the sentence, the assumption of certainty, the inner agreement, the sacred authority of your spoken command. when you speak as one with infinite consciousness, when you issue this sentence as divine decree, when you repeat it faithfully and assumingly, then yes, money must find you. Not because you're lucky, but because you've assumed according to law. Let no one distract you from this truth. Let no thought dilute your assumption. You do not need to manipulate. You do not need to beg. You do not need to force. You need only to assume faithfully, assume rhythmically, assume boldly, and watch what must appear. This is the sentence. This is the key. This is the turning point. Now let us seal this truth deeper by reprogramming your subconscious mind to accept this sentence as your new financial reality. You have now heard the sentence, you have understood its meaning, but until your subconscious mind accepts it as truth, your outer experience will continue to reflect old assumptions. You see, the subconscious is the deep garden of consciousness. It does not respond to logic. It responds to repetition, to emotion, to imagery. It does not argue with you. It does not question your assumptions. It simply accepts what you allow it to assume often enough. This is why you must now take your spoken sentence and plant it deliberately into the fertile ground of your subconscious mind, day by day, night by night. Do not assume once and wonder. Do not whisper it timidly and hope. You must command it rhythmically until it becomes a living assumption in your being. Your subconscious mind has, until now, accepted phrases like, I can't afford it, money is tight, or there's never enough. And so your outer world has obeyed those assumptions. But now you replace those weeds with divine seed. You repeat the sentence, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply, until your subconscious accepts it not as novelty, but as law, not as a wish, but as assumption. Do this first thing upon waking. Do this last thing before sleep. For in those moments, the subconscious is wide open, receptive, impressionable. Speak the sentence slowly, with feeling, as though you are writing it with fire across the surface of your soul. Imagine money already finding you. Unexpected payments, surprising breakthroughs, joyful overflow. See it, speak it, feel it, and assume it. You must create a rhythm, morning and evening, not 5 times today and never again, not when you feel like it, but with the discipline of one who understands law. Reprogramming is not mystical, it is mechanical. If you give the subconscious a new assumption enough times, it must obey. Do not worry if you don't feel different at first. Assume anyway. Do not stop when the outer world still looks unchanged. Assume anyway. You are assuming through appearances, not to them. You are issuing an assumption that bypasses circumstance and rewrites the invisible blueprint that creates visible results. You may begin to feel strange when assuming it. Good. That means the old programming is cracking. You may feel resistance. Good. That means you're interrupting the old assumption. But assume anyway. Assume through it. Assume until the sentence becomes more familiar than your fear. Now that you have received the truth, you are no longer a seeker. You are an assumer. You are no longer a questioner. You are a commander. And so I now place before you a sacred challenge, not to test your worthiness, but to activate your assumption. For the next 7 consecutive days, you will speak this sentence, morning and night, without excuse, without doubt, without delay. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. You will say it with breath. You will say it with rhythm. You will say it aloud, not in your head, not in theory, but aloud, where the vibration is sent, where the assumption is activated. Each morning, before the world rushes in, you will pause and speak these words as law. You will declare them not like a beggar asking for mercy, but like consciousness itself issuing command. And each night, before you cross the threshold into sleep, you will speak again, sealing your subconscious with divine supply. This is not a mantra. This is not a charm. This is a lawful assumption spoken daily that will begin to shift consciousness, and consciousness governs experience. What you see today is only the echo of assumptions you've held in the past. If you want new results, new inflows, new money, new manifestations, you must assume a new consciousness. For these 7 days, you are forbidden from assuming lack. You will not say, I'm broke. You will not complain about money. You will not repeat the language of fear, debt, or delay. Your consciousness belongs to abundance now. Your assumptions are the construction crew of heaven, and I make this promise to you, as surely as divine law is exact. If you assume this sentence faithfully for 7 nights and 7 mornings, without contradiction, with reverence and rhythm, something will shift. You may receive a check, a debt forgiven, a job offer, a refund, a creative idea that changes everything. You do not need to know how. You need only to be faithful to the assumption. Do not ask, is it working? That question reveals disbelief. It must work. Law cannot lie. Consciousness does not forget. Your assumption never returns void. You do not assume to make something happen. You assume because it already has in consciousness. Let each day become more confident. Let each night become more surrendered. Let your voice become more aligned, more sure, more rhythmic. And do not just say it. Feel it. Feel the avalanche as you speak it. Picture the floodgates of wealth opening. Hear the sound of money flowing in. Let your whole being agree with your assumption. This challenge is not about money. It is about consciousness. It is about trust. It is about becoming the person who assumes wealth because they have become wealth in vibration. So take this seriously. Treat it as sacred. Write the sentence, carry it, speak it, and record what happens. Because when you assume truth, life rearranges itself to match your assumption. Say aloud now, I accept the 7-day challenge. I commit to assuming this sentence morning and night. I expect divine demonstration, and I trust the law. You have now accepted your role as divine consciousness individualized. You have crossed from doubt to assumption. And now prepare for the return, for what you have assumed is already on its way to you. What if I told you that every word you've ever spoken has been quietly programming your reality? What if the reason your life looks the way it does right now isn't because of what happened to you, but because of what you've been declaring about yourself in the silence? You were never meant to beg the universe for scraps. You were never meant to whisper affirmations like prayers to a distant god. You were born with the same creative force that carved galaxies into existence. The same voice that once declared, "Let there be light," now speaks through you. But here's what they don't want you to know. You've been using this power backwards. You've been declaring your limitations instead of your liberation. You've been commanding your fears instead of your freedom. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, has been faithfully delivering exactly what you've been ordering. Every time you say I am, you are not describing your life. You are directing it. This is not positive thinking. This is positional identity. This is about stepping back into the authorship you abandoned the day you started believing other people's stories about who you were supposed to be. Before the world was shaped by hands, it was shaped by voice. Before creation took form, a declaration was made, "Let there be." And there was. In the beginning was the word, not a sound, but a force. Not a phrase, but a frequency, a vibration so pure that it carved galaxies into the void. And that same creative force now lives within you. Every time you say I am, you are instructing your cells, your brain, your spirit, and the quantum field around you to shape themselves into the image of your words. This is the power that moved mountains in Scripture, the principle behind miracles, the voice that made worlds and still does. I need you to understand something that will shatter everything you think you know about creating change in your life. There is a moment before creation, a pause before the visible. And in that pause, a voice rises, not from your throat, but from your identity. From a knowing so deep it needs no proof, no permission, no validation from the outside world. It simply declares, this is who I am. And reality has no choice but to respond. You think you were born into stillness. You were born into sound, heartbeat, cry, breath, word. Creation doesn't begin with effort. It begins with frequency. with the courage to speak your truth before the world agrees with it. Every reality begins with a word. In Genesis, the Creator doesn't build with hands. He says, "Let there be," and light obeys. Physics now tells us the same truth. All matter arises from energy, and energy responds to observation and vibration. So when you say, "I am ready, I am whole," it is done. You're not hoping. You're instructing. You're not becoming. You're revealing. Here's the science they don't teach you in school. Your brain is not a passive organ waiting for life to happen to it. It is an architect, constantly building your reality according to the blueprints you give it through your words. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain wires itself according to repeated thoughts, declarations, and beliefs. Every time you say "I am," you lay down a new layer of identity in your nervous system. Say "I am overwhelmed," and the stress circuits deepen. Say "I am learning," and curiosity pathways awaken. Say "I am capable," and your prefrontal cortex begins mapping new behavior. The body doesn't wait for proof. It responds to instruction. In 2014, stroke patients who repeated empowering identity statements like "I am healing," "I am getting stronger," showed faster neurological recovery than those who simply focused on physical tasks. Their inner language restructured their outer healing. Not because the words had magic, because identity shapes biology. But here's where most people get it wrong. You've been declaring all your life. Every day you're already saying, "I'm tired, I never figure things out. This always happens to me." And your subconscious takes it literally. It doesn't question. It doesn't analyze. It simply says, "Got it. You are that. I'll make sure reality reflects it." So the loop begins. A phrase becomes a feeling. A feeling becomes a filter. A filter becomes a world. You think you're describing life, but you're actually designing it. They told you to work harder, hustle, grind, prove yourself worthy. But what they never told you is that reality doesn't respond to effort. It responds to identity in motion. You are not here to earn your future. You are here to declare it. And there is an ancient law backing that declaration, one that operates whether you know it or not. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. Modern science calls it neuroplasticity. The mystics called it divine law. But you already know it intuitively. You feel it in your bones when you speak from truth. You feel it when you say "I can," and something stirs. You feel it when you say "I am," and the universe leans in to respond. What does this mean in the language of modern mind and matter? It means that what you believe to be true about yourself begins to train your nervous system, your perception, and your body to mirror that identity. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filter for attention, looks for proof of your inner assumptions. Say "I am unlucky," and the RAS finds every reason to agree. Say "I am favored," and the field begins to echo that frequency. You're not observing reality. You're filtering it according to your declarations. A young girl in a disadvantaged school system struggled for years until one teacher told her, "You're a genius. You just haven't been taught like one." That simple declaration, spoken daily, "I am a genius. I just learned differently," rewired her identity. Her test scores improved. But more than that, her self-perception shifted. Today she's an educator herself, helping other kids do the same. What changed? Her belief, her biology, her future, all from a new "I am." Here's the uncomfortable truth. You've been performing, not aligning. You repeat, "I am confident," while your voice shakes with doubt. You say "I am abundant," while your body tenses with fear. The subconscious doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your vibration, to coherence, not cleverness. That's why declarations without feeling are flat. But declarations fused with elevated emotion trigger neurochemical cascades that literally alter your biology. Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it this way: when thought and feeling become one, you move from hope into reality creation. When you declare "I am abundant," and actually feel abundant, you release dopamine, the motivational neurotransmitter. When you say "I am at peace" from genuine stillness, you stimulate oxytocin, calming your nervous system. You're not just affirming, you're literally changing the chemical signature of your state. This is why your life changes not when you do more, but when you speak from who you've become. The universe doesn't need convincing. You don't have to argue with the field. You only have to declare clearly from the inside out. I am already what I seek. I am walking as the version who has it. It is done, not because I forced it, but because I aligned with it. Your voice is not small. It is not mere sound. It is structure. What you speak into the unseen becomes architecture, a scaffold of possibility that the physical world begins to build around. Words are not just air. They are instruction. Each time you speak with conviction, you emit a frequency, and frequency, as both mystics and physicists know, shapes matter. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, is more than scripture. It's science written in sacred language, because in the beginning of any reality, a business, a relationship, a healing, there is always a word, not just spoken aloud, but whispered internally with enough belief to command the field. The quantum field doesn't hear English. It hears coherence. It doesn't wait for results. It responds to vibration. In 1967, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny conducted experiments that stunned the scientific world. Using sound vibrations directed at sand, he watched invisible tones create intricate geometric patterns. The higher the coherence of the tone, the more beautiful and complex the pattern. You are no different. Your internal tone, the energy behind your words, determines what kind of pattern your life forms. Anger scrambles the geometry. Worry distorts it. But declaration spoken from stillness, from power, creates sacred symmetry in your field. Dr. Candace Pert, neuroscientist and pharmacologist, discovered what she called the molecules of emotion. She found that peptides, chemical messengers, triggered by thought and speech, bind to receptors on every cell in your body. In simple terms, what you say, your body hears. Every I am becomes a signal that instructs your biology. Say I am overwhelmed, and cortisol floods your system. Say I am grounded, and parasympathetic signals begin to calm your heart rate. This is not symbolic. This is biochemical manifestation. You are not just thinking. You are programming. You are not just talking. You are transmitting. In quantum physics, particles exist in a cloud of probabilities until observed. This is called the wave function. It means that at every moment, infinite versions of your life exist, each one waiting to be selected. So what selects it? Conscious observation fused with intention. When you say, I am this, you collapse potential into particular. You shift from all that could be into, this is what I've chosen. Your words are the selector switch in a field of infinite outcomes. Consider Anita Morjani, diagnosed with end-stage lymphoma, tumors throughout her body, organs shutting down. Doctors declared the end, but she declared something else, not with logic, but with identity. I am not here to die. I am here to live. She entered a near-death experience where she felt herself as wholeness, not illness. Upon returning, her body began healing rapidly. Within weeks of this declaration, backed by complete inner alignment, her scans shocked her doctors. No trace of cancer remained. Skeptics call it impossible, but her declaration, backed by full coherence of mind, emotion, and soul, became her reality. What you declare, you animate. Declare I am love, and your nervous system begins to soften. Your energy field becomes magnetic. Declare I am abundance, and your perception starts scanning for opportunity. Synchronicity sharpens. Declare I am peace, and the chaos around you starts to lose its grip. You are not waiting for reality to show up so you can name it. You are naming it so it shows up. This is how you shape matter. This is how you bend time, not with effort, but with energetic authorship. Here's where most people fail. They speak powerfully, then walk timidly. They declare abundance and act from fear. They affirm love but move from wounds. The field grows confused. The signal splits. Nothing changes. Declaration is the first step. Embodiment is the second. It is not enough to declare. You must become what you've spoken. Words are seeds, powerful. Yes, but a seed does nothing unless it is watered, nurtured, lived. To become the word you speak is to make your identity louder than your past, louder than your habits, louder than your habits, louder than your history. In psychology, there's a simple truth. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. This is called self-concept congruence. It means your behavior, whether successful or self-sabotaging, mirrors your internal identity more than your external intention. You can want change. You can declare change. But until you become the person who lives in that new world, the old self pulls you back. This is not resistance. It's programming, and it can be rewritten. Research on addiction recovery found a striking difference. When offered a cigarette, those who said, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," had high relapse rates. But those who said, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," who shifted identity, not just behavior, rarely relapsed. They weren't performing willpower. They were embodying a new version of themselves, because the subconscious doesn't sustain what isn't aligned. Here's where most manifestation practices stop. I am successful. I am loved. I am confident. Beautiful words. But what do your feet say? What does your posture declare? How do your choices speak? Embodiment is not performance. It's not pretending to be something you're not. It's allowing yourself to live as the version you've already declared. Each morning, ask yourself, if I truly believed my declaration, how would I move today? How would I walk if I believed I was magnetic? How would I respond to conflict if I knew I was already safe? What would I say yes or no to if I knew I was already supported? This isn't acting. This is returning to a truer self hidden beneath conditioning. Every action that matches your new identity strengthens neural pathways. This is Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. Declare, I am confident, and speak up in the meeting. Your brain logs that as proof. Do it again and the network deepens. Do it daily and it becomes your default. Soon the old identity begins to dissolve. Not through force, but through starvation. You've stopped feeding it. Your brain is equipped with mirror neurons, cells that fire both when you act and when you imagine yourself acting. This means when you visualize yourself walking as the new version, your brain responds as if it's already happening. So when you say, I am abundant, and close your eyes to feel the reality of that abundance, you are not fantasizing. You are training your neurology. The body begins to behave like abundance is real, and then reality follows suit. In a longitudinal study on goal setting, participants were asked to write down their ideal future selves. One group wrote once. The other group lived as that version daily, walking, dressing, making choices like their future self already existed. 12 months later, the second group had significantly higher measurable success in income, health, and happiness. Why? Because they weren't trying to get there. They were being there. Your body doesn't care if it's memory or imagination. It becomes whatever you rehearse with feeling. There is a space between the word and the world. It's where most people lose the miracle. You said it, you meant it, you felt it. I am healed, I am abundant, I am ready, and then nothing, no signs, no evidence, just silence. This is the space where dreams die, not because the law failed, but because the voice wavered. But the gap is not punishment. This is not delay, but integration, because every declaration is a seed. And every seed, no matter how divine, needs time to take root. In every mystical tradition, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Buddhism, there is reverence for the void, that sacred in between, the formless, the field before the form. Creation is not instant. It is gestational. The same applies to your spoken reality. When you say I am, you activate the field. But when you wait in stillness, you allow that field to organize itself around your identity. In neuroscience, change isn't visible the moment it begins. Neural rewiring often happens below conscious awareness. In one UCLA study on habit change, participants showed increased neural activity weeks before they felt their behavior shift. They hadn't noticed anything working. But deep beneath the surface, their brain had already begun its transformation. This is the unseen miracle. Silence does not mean absence. Stillness does not mean stuck. It means integration is underway. The moment doubt creeps in, panic sets in. They redeclare from fear. They push. They try to fix what's already in motion. But this tells the subconscious, I don't believe what I just said. We are not safe to receive. The identity resets. The timeline shifts. The process pauses. Not because it failed, but because you interrupted the signal. Trust is not just spiritual. It's neurological regulation. When you trust your declaration, your nervous system relaxes. Cortisol drops. The parasympathetic system activates, signaling safety. In this state, you become more receptive, more intuitive, more available. The more you hold the vibration of certainty, the more coherent your electromagnetic field becomes, and the more precisely the universe mirrors it. You may believe your declarations are only sound, but beneath every affirmation, your body is listening. Not metaphorically, biologically. The nervous system records your tone. Your hormones adjust to your language. Your immune system follows your beliefs. Because every I am is not just a thought. It is a chemical command. Your words don't live in the air. They live in your blood, in your muscle memory, in your breath. This is why identity is more than mental repetition. It is a full body signal, a living vibration. When you say, I am afraid, your brain doesn't evaluate whether it's true. It floods your body with cortisol, the stress hormone. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Muscles tighten in anticipation of danger, even if no danger exists. Now say, I am safe, and your body begins to reverse the process. Oxytocin releases. The parasympathetic nervous system activates, initiating rest and restoration. The immune system strengthens. The mind clears. The difference wasn't a change in environment. It was a change in self-declaration. Dr. Candace Pert, pioneer of psychoneuroimmunology, discovered that emotions are not in your head. They are in your entire body. Your cells have receptors that absorb emotional peptides, chemical messengers released with every thought and spoken word. That means your body is responding to your I am statements. Before you're even fully conscious of what you said, you declare I am anxious. Your body obeys, tightening, restricting, reacting. You declare I am grounded. Your body opens. Even if your mind doesn't fully believe it yet, the chemistry begins shifting, and over time, that shift becomes your baseline. Your nervous system doesn't just listen to your words. It watches your posture. It feels your breath. It scans your tone. Say, I am confident with slumped shoulders, downcast eyes, and tight breath. Your body senses the contradiction and rejects the command. But say it while standing tall, breathing deeply, making eye contact. Your physiology receives it as truth. You are always broadcasting a frequency. Your body's role is not to argue with you. Its role is to amplify what you declare. So the question becomes, what are you asking it to repeat? There is a moment when you no longer speak to convince. You no longer declare to get. You no longer affirm to attract. You speak because it is who you are. You live because it is already done. This is the frequency of and so it is. Not a wish, not a performance, but sacred surrender to the truth you've chosen and the self you've become. Most people speak from desire. I want more money. I want love. I want freedom. But their energy says, I'm not there yet. I hope this works. I need this to complete me. This creates a vibrational gap, a mismatch between the frequency of desire and the identity of fulfillment. Wanting says maybe one day, being says I already am. The universe doesn't respond to wanting. It responds to vibrational certainty. Olympic athletes don't win gold because they train harder. They win because they train as the version of themselves who's already won. They don't say, I hope to win. They say, I am a champion. And I'm here to meet the moment. This is pre-living the result, not pretending, but rehearsing truth until it becomes embodied knowing. You must do the same. Declare it, feel it, walk in it before the world catches up. And when it does, it won't feel like a surprise. It will feel like recognition. Alreadiness is a vibration. It's not arrogance. It's not delusion. It's resonance. When you carry yourself like someone who is already free, doors open, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with the version of you that was always holding the key. You don't attract what you chase. You attract what you normalize. So make your future identity feel normal now. Speak as them, decide as them, move as them, and you'll collapse the timeline between vision and reality. Lao Tzu said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." This is the vibration of "and so it is." It does not push, it does not plead, it simply unfolds. The seed does not strain to become the tree. It trusts the process written in its DNA. You are the same. The declaration is your seed. The embodiment is your watering. The stillness is your sunlight. And then, inevitably, the result emerges. You don't need to beg. You don't need to prove. You don't need to obsess over how or when. Your only job is to live the frequency you once longed for, as if it's already yours, because it is. The universe does not answer your wishes. It answers your identity. You began this journey with words, but it ends not with more doing, but with being. You've remembered that your voice is more than sound. It's structure. Your thoughts are more than private noise. They are invitations. Your I am is not a hope. It's a blueprint, a signal to the quantum field, a command to your biology, and a return to your divine authorship. Now you know, you were never trying to become. You were only trying to remember. Remember the one who was always whole, who never needed fixing, only alignment, who didn't have to chase, only declare, and whose word, when spoken in truth, is already done. Let there be was never followed by doubt. It was followed by light. So speak and rest, affirm and walk, declare and become, not because you're trying to convince the world, but because you finally convinced yourself. This is your life now, a quiet knowing, a powerful stillness, a voice that no longer begs, but creates.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to teach you the two most powerful words in the entire vocabulary of manifestation. Turn within. And I am going to show you exactly where to go once you turn within. Not to the beginning, not to the middle, but straight to the end. These 6 words contain the entire secret of conscious creation. Turn within and go to the end. Most people spend their entire lives turned outward, looking to the external world for solutions, for validation, for change. They look to their bank account to tell them if they are prosperous. They look to other people to tell them if they are loved. They look to circumstances to tell them what is possible. And because they are turned outward, they remain powerless. Because the outer world is effect, not cause. It is the screen, not the projector. It is the shadow, not the substance. Tonight I am going to teach you to reverse your gaze, to turn within where all causation resides. And once you have turned within, I will show you how to go directly to the end, to the state of the wish fulfilled, and collapse all time between desire and manifestation. Let me begin with a story that perfectly illustrates what it means to turn within. A woman came to me several months ago, absolutely desperate about her financial situation. She was drowning in debt, her business was failing, and she saw no way out. For 30 minutes, she described her problems in elaborate detail. The creditors calling, the bills unpaid, the opportunities that had fallen through. Finally, I stopped her and said, "My dear, you have spent 30 minutes describing your outer world, but I want you to do something radical right now. I want you to turn within." She looked at me, confused. "What do you mean, turn within?" "Close your eyes," I instructed. "Stop looking at your circumstances for a moment. Stop thinking about the bills, the creditors, the problems. Turn your attention inward, to the realm of imagination, to the dimension of consciousness where all things are possible." She closed her eyes and I continued. "In this inner realm, there is a version of you who is financially free. There is a state of consciousness where you are abundant, secure, and prosperous. I want you to find that state, not by thinking about how you might get there someday, but by going there now, in imagination." I watched as something shifted in her body. Her breathing changed. Her face softened. She had stopped looking outward at her problems and had turned inward to the realm of possibility. "What do you see?" I asked gently. "I see myself completely at peace," she whispered. "I see my bank account with more than enough. I feel relief, joy, freedom." "That," I said, "is turning within. You have just moved from the outer world of effects to the inner world of causes. And the state you are experiencing right now in imagination is more real than all your problems, because it is the cause that will create new effects." You see, turning within is not escapism. It is not denying your circumstances or pretending your problems do not exist. Turning within is recognizing that the outer world has no creative power. It can only reflect what is within. And if you want the outer world to change, you must first turn within and change the state you are maintaining in consciousness. The entire world is looking outward for salvation. They think the answer is out there. In a new job, a new relationship, a new opportunity, a lucky break. But I tell you, nothing out there has the power to save you, because nothing out there has the power to create. All power is within. All causation is within. All change begins within. When you turn within, you are turning to the only creative force in your universe, your own consciousness. You are moving from the world of effects to the world of causes. You are stepping out of the powerless position of reactor and into the powerful position of creator. But turning within is only the first step. Once you have turned within, you must know where to go. And this is where most people make their critical mistake. They turn within, they begin to imagine. But they imagine the process. They imagine the steps, the journey, the how. They imagine working hard, struggling, eventually achieving. They imagine the long road from here to there. But I teach something radically different. I teach you to go directly to the end, to skip over all the middle steps, and leap straight to the state of the wish fulfilled. Going to the end means imagining from the state of having, not from the state of getting. It means experiencing the after, not the during. It means dwelling in the result as though it has already happened. Let me explain this with absolute clarity, because it is the most important technique you will ever learn. When most people want something, they imagine acquiring it. If they want money, they imagine getting money. If they want a relationship, they imagine meeting someone. If they want healing, they imagine being healed. But all of these imaginings keep you in the state of wanting, of lacking, of not yet having. They perpetuate the very condition you are trying to escape. Going to the end means you skip the acquisition entirely and imagine from the state of already possessing. You do not imagine getting money. You imagine having money and feeling the naturalness of it. You do not imagine meeting someone. You imagine being in a loving relationship and feeling the satisfaction of it. You do not imagine being healed. You imagine being healthy and feeling the vitality of it. The end is not the moment of receiving. The end is the state of already having received. A gentleman came to me who had been trying to manifest a promotion at work for over a year. He had been visualizing the moment his boss would call him into the office and offer him the position. He had imagined the interview, the negotiation, the acceptance, but nothing was happening. I said to him, "You are imagining the process, not the end. You are stuck in the getting, not the having. Let me show you what it means to go to the end." I had him close his eyes and said, "Do not imagine being offered the promotion. Imagine it is 3 months after you receive the promotion. You are sitting at your new desk, in your new office, performing your new responsibilities. This is normal now. This is just your life. Feel how natural it is. This is not something you are hoping for. This is something you have." As he imagined from this end state, I watched his entire energy shift. The desperate grasping dissolved. The anxiety about whether it would happen melted away. He was no longer imagining getting the promotion. He was experiencing having it. "How do you feel?" I asked. "I feel settled," he said. "Like it's already done. Like this is just who I am now." That, I told him, is the state of the wish fulfilled. That is the end. And when you can maintain that state, the outer world must conform to it. Within 2 weeks, he received the promotion. But notice, he did not receive it because he imagined the process of getting it. He received it because he went to the end and dwelt in the state of already having it. Now you might ask, but Neville, if I go straight to the end and skip all the middle steps, how will the manifestation actually occur? Don't I need to know the how? And this is where you must understand one of the most liberating truths I can teach you. You do not need to know the how. In fact, trying to figure out the how will only limit your manifestation. When you go to the end and maintain the state of the wish fulfilled, you set in motion what I call the bridge of incidents, a series of events, encounters, and circumstances that will naturally unfold to bring your assumption into physical reality. But here is the crucial point. You cannot know in advance what this bridge of incidents will look like. The path from your current state to your desired end may involve people, opportunities, and circumstances that do not even exist in your awareness right now. If you try to imagine the how, you are using your limited conscious mind to plot a course. But when you go to the end and let the subconscious work out the means, you are accessing infinite intelligence that can orchestrate circumstances far beyond what your conscious mind could plan. Your job is not to build the bridge. Your job is to go to the end and remain there in consciousness. The bridge will build itself. I remember a woman who wanted to move to a specific city, but saw no possible way to do it. She had no job prospects there, no connections, no financial means. Her conscious mind could not plot a path. But I taught her, do not imagine how you will get there. Do not try to figure out the job, the money, the logistics. Simply go to the end. Imagine you are already living in that city. Feel yourself waking up there, walking the streets, living your daily life there. Dwell in the end, and let the bridge build itself. She practiced this faithfully. She stopped trying to figure out the how and simply maintained the state of already living in her desired city. She would close her eyes and feel herself there, hear the sounds of that place, experience the satisfaction of being where she wanted to be. Within 2 months, a series of unexpected events unfolded. A distant relative offered her a place to stay. An opportunity appeared for remote work. A friend mentioned a contact in that city. None of these were things she could have planned or predicted. The bridge of incidents had constructed itself perfectly. She did not make it happen. She did not force it into being. She simply went to the end, maintained that state, and allowed the creative power of consciousness to orchestrate the means. Here is another profound truth about going to the end. It collapses time. In the three-dimensional world, everything appears to happen in linear sequence. First this, then that, then the next thing. There is always a gap between desire and fulfillment, between cause and effect. But in consciousness, in the dimension where you turn within, there is no time. There is only the eternal now. And when you go to the end, you are stepping into a dimension where your desire is already fulfilled, where the wish is already accomplished. Most people imagine their desire in the future. Someday I will have this, eventually this will happen, in the future I will be that. But the future never comes. The future is always future. Going to the end means bringing the future into the present moment of consciousness. It means experiencing now what you would experience then. It means collapsing the gap between desire and fulfillment by dwelling in the fulfilled state right now. Time only exists in the outer world. In the inner world of consciousness, you can be anywhere, anywhen, any version of yourself. And whichever state you occupy in consciousness becomes your reality. A man came to me who wanted to be debt-free but owed over $100,000. In linear time, at his current income, it would take him many years to pay off this debt. The future seemed impossibly distant. I taught him to collapse time by going to the end. Do not imagine slowly paying off the debt, I told him. Do not imagine years of struggle and sacrifice. Go straight to the end. Imagine you are already debt-free. Feel what it feels like to owe nothing. Experience the peace, the freedom, the relief of being completely clear financially. He practiced this daily, turning within and going to the end. He did not think about how it would happen or how long it would take. He simply dwelt in the state of being debt-free, experiencing it as present reality in consciousness. Within 8 months, far sooner than linear planning would have suggested, the entire debt was cleared through a combination of unexpected circumstances. An inheritance from an uncle he barely knew, a tax refund larger than anticipated, a bonus at work he had not expected. Time had collapsed because he had collapsed it in consciousness. By going to the end and experiencing it now, he had brought the distant future into the present moment. Now I want to make a crucial distinction that will deepen your understanding of this practice. There is a difference between living in the wish and living from the end. Living in the wish means you are still oriented toward the desire as something you want. You are still in the consciousness of lacking it, of needing it to come to you. Even if you are imagining it as something separate from you, something you are trying to acquire. Living from the end means you have already acquired it in consciousness. You are no longer looking at it from the outside as something you want. You are looking from it at the world as something you have. Let me illustrate this with an example. Imagine a woman who desires marriage. If she is living in the wish, she imagines meeting her husband, the wedding ceremony, the moment of union. She is still oriented toward the marriage as something in her future, something she hopes will happen. But if she is living from the end, she does not imagine the wedding. She imagines from the state of being married. She might simply feel a ring on her finger as she washes dishes. She might have an imaginary conversation with her husband about their day. She experiences the naturalness, the ordinariness of being married. Do you see the difference? Living in the wish keeps you focused on the desire. Living from the end makes the desire your natural state. When you live from the end, you are no longer trying to get there. You are already there in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality that matters, because consciousness creates all physical reality. The woman who lives from the end of being married is not waiting to feel married when the man appears. She feels married now in consciousness. And because she feels married now, the man must appear to confirm what she already is in consciousness. This is the great secret. You do not achieve in order to become. You become in consciousness. And then the achievement appears as confirmation. As you practice going to the end, you must understand that it is not the mental image that creates, it is the feeling. You can visualize the end all day long. But if you are not feeling from the end, you are not truly there. The feeling is how you know you have actually assumed the state. When you go to the end, you must feel what you would feel if your desire were already accomplished. Not hope, not anticipation, not yearning, but the actual feeling of having, of being, of satisfaction and fulfillment. This feeling is not emotion in the ordinary sense. It is not excitement or giddiness. It is a deep, calm sense of naturalness. It is the feeling of course, rather than I hope so. When you truly go to the end, there is a quiet certainty, a peaceful knowing. You feel the way you feel about things you already have. Natural, normal, unquestioned. A young man came to me wanting to manifest success in his music career. He would spend hours visualizing himself on stage, imagining crowds, picturing success. But nothing was manifesting. I asked him, when you imagine these things, how do you feel? Excited, he said. Hopeful, like it would be amazing if it happened. There is your problem, I told him. You are feeling the anticipation of success, not the satisfaction of success. You are feeling what you would feel wanting it, not what you would feel having it. I taught him to go to the end differently, not to imagine the spectacular moments, but to imagine the quiet, ordinary moments after success had become normal. Imagine sitting in your home studio, casually working on music because this is just what you do now. Feel the calm confidence of someone who has already succeeded. Experience the naturalness of it. When he learned to feel from the end rather than toward it, everything shifted. Within months, opportunities began appearing that led to exactly the success he had imagined. The feeling is the secret because the feeling is the state, and the state is what manifests. Here is the practical discipline I want you to understand. Going to the end is not a one-time event. It is a practice of returning. Throughout your day, your attention will be pulled back to current circumstances. Your senses will report the old facts. The outer world will present evidence that contradicts your end state. This is natural. This is the gap between the old state hardening into fact and the new state not yet manifested physically. Your discipline is to continuously return to the end. Every time you notice yourself dwelling in the current state of lack or limitation, gently turn within and return to the end. You do not need to force it. You do not need to strain. You simply return as often as necessary to the state of the wish fulfilled. Think of it like this. Imagine you are standing in a room facing one direction, looking at an empty space. This is your current circumstance, the lack you see before you. Going to the end is like turning 180 degrees and looking in the opposite direction where everything you desire is already present. At first, you might turn around and look at the fulfilled end, but then habit pulls you back and you turn around again to look at the lack. This is normal. Simply turn back around. Look at the end again. Feel it again. Dwell there again. Each time you return to the end, you are strengthening that state in consciousness. You are impressing it more deeply upon your subconscious mind. You are making it more natural, more real, more inevitable. Eventually, living from the end becomes more natural than living from the current circumstances. The fulfilled state becomes your default, your home base. And when that happens, manifestation is not only inevitable, it is already accomplished. Let me leave you with the ultimate truth about turning within and going to the end. You are not trying to create something new. You are not trying to make something happen that does not yet exist. In the infinite dimension of consciousness, everything already exists. Every possible state, every possible outcome, every possible version of your life exists right now in consciousness. When you turn within and go to the end, you are not creating the end, you are selecting it. You are choosing which of the infinite possibilities you will experience. You are claiming what already is and making it your reality. Creation is finished. Everything that could ever be already exists in consciousness. Your only work is to select the state you desire and dwell there until it hardens into fact in the outer world. This is why I can say, with absolute certainty, that your desire is already accomplished. Not will be accomplished, is accomplished. Right now, in the dimension of consciousness, you are already what you desire to be. You already have what you desire to have. You are already experiencing what you desire to experience. Your job is simply to turn within, go to that end state, and dwell there until the outer world catches up with the inner reality. The power is within you. The end already exists. All you must do is turn your gaze inward, leap to the fulfilled state, and live from that end until the world has no choice but to conform. Turn within and go to the end. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
Right now, as you're listening this, there's another version of you making completely different choices. They're living the life you've always dreamed of, or perhaps facing challenges you can't even imagine. But here's the mind-bending part. They're trying to reach you. Let your mind drift beyond this room, beyond this day, beyond the version of yourself you know so well. Imagine that somewhere right now, there's not just one other you, but a countless multitude, each living out a life shaped by choices you never made, dreams you never pursued, or fears you overcame long ago. Picture it. In one reality, you are standing on a mountaintop, wind in your hair, a life of freedom and adventure your daily norm. In another, you're sitting by a warm fire in a cozy cottage, surrounded by a family that feels like home. In yet another, you're standing on a stage, your voice carrying a message that changes lives. Some versions are not so different from your life now, others are so radically free, abundant, or wise, that they almost feel like fantasy. And yet, they are real. Each possibility exists as a thread woven into the vast, shimmering tapestry of the multiverse. Every time you wonder, what if? Every time you dream, if only I'd, every choice you almost made but didn't. Somewhere, some version of you did. And what if I told you that every strange coincidence, every moment of déjà vu, every vivid dream that felt too real isn't random at all? What if these are actually messages, cosmic breadcrumbs left by alternate versions of yourself across infinite realities? This isn't science fiction. Quantum physics has shattered our understanding of reality, revealing that what we experience is just one thread in an infinite tapestry of possibilities. And the most extraordinary part, all these versions of you are connected by an invisible web of consciousness that transcends time and space. But why does this matter now, here in the quiet hush of your own awareness? Because these other selves are not lost, distant shadows. They are alive within you, whispering, guiding, nudging you toward your highest potential every single day. Some call it parallel universes. Some call it the quantum field. Some call it the infinite soul. But at the heart of it all is a simple truth. You are so much more than you have been taught to believe. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you are standing at the doorway between these infinite selves. You hold the key to shift from the reality you see to the one you truly desire. This isn't just spiritual daydreaming. Modern physics has peered into the strange, shimmering dance of the quantum world and found that reality, at its deepest level, is not fixed and solid, but fluid and flexible. Particles flicker in and out of existence. One particle can exist in many places at once, until you look at it, and it chooses where to be. And what is true of particles is true of everything built from them, which means it's true of you. The concept of parallel realities isn't just spiritual philosophy. It's grounded in cutting-edge quantum physics. The theory of quantum superposition reveals that at the fundamental level of reality, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. This means that on the deepest level of existence, all possible realities are happening at once. Picture this. With every decision you make, whether to take that job, move to that city, speak to that stranger, or even what to eat for breakfast, reality splits like a cosmic fork in the road. In one timeline, you said yes. In another, you said no. Each choice creates a new branch where a different version of you lives out that decision, experiencing all the consequences and possibilities that follow. Some of these parallel selves are living extraordinary lives beyond your wildest dreams. Others are facing challenges that would test the very limits of human endurance. But all of them, every single version, shares something profound with you, an unbreakable connection through the fabric of consciousness itself. But here's where it gets fascinating. These parallel selves aren't isolated islands drifting in an ocean of possibility. They're all connected through what scientists call the quantum field, a vast ocean of consciousness where all possibilities exist simultaneously. And sometimes, just sometimes, these other versions of you find ways to break through the dimensional barriers to send you messages. What's truly extraordinary is that these multiple realities aren't just theoretical. They're actively interconnected. The consciousness that creates them maintains connections between all versions, allowing for communication and influence across dimensional boundaries. This is why you can receive guidance from a version of yourself that has already overcome the challenges you're currently facing. Think back to a moment in your life when you stood at a crossroads. Maybe it was a job you almost took, but didn't. A relationship you walked away from, or wished you hadn't. A chance you were too afraid to leap for. Imagine that, in another thread of reality, you made the opposite choice. How might your life be different? What kind of person would you be now? More courageous, more free, more joyful, or maybe carrying different burdens you were spared here? The beauty is, these other selves are not just echoes. They are alive within your field, They hold memories, lessons, strength, and inspiration that you can access. And the bridge to reach them is your consciousness. Your parallel selves speak in a language older than words, more subtle than thoughts, and more powerful than any technology we've ever created. They speak in symbols, dreams, intuitions, and tiny twists of fate we call coincidences. Think of déjà vu, that uncanny feeling you've done this before, in this exact way. That eerie feeling of I've been here before isn't a glitch in your brain. It's a memory leak from another timeline. For a split second, the barriers between realities become permeable, and you're experiencing an echo of what another version of you has already lived through. What if in that moment, your timeline brushed up against another, and you glimpsed a memory from a parallel self? These moments of déjà vu are actually brief glimpses into the experiences of your parallel selves. It's as if the dimensional walls become transparent for just an instant, allowing you to peek through and witness a scene that another version of you has already played out. The feeling of familiarity you experience is your consciousness recognizing its own energy signature from across the dimensional divide. When the same number appears everywhere you look, when chance encounters feel orchestrated by an invisible hand, when life seems to be conspiring to get your attention, that's not coincidence. It's your parallel self using the universe as a messaging system, dropping hints about the path you should take. Or synchronicities, those same phrases echoing on a billboard, a song that plays just as you're wondering about something deeply important. These are not random, they are breadcrumbs. Little winks from the universe, or from your parallel selves, nudging you. Pay attention, you're not alone. These synchronicities serve as a sophisticated communication network between realities. Imagine a version of you who has already made the career change you're contemplating, now living successfully in that new reality. This version of you might guide your attention to specific symbols, numbers, or events that appeared in their own journey toward that successful transition. For instance, you might start noticing a particular word or phrase everywhere, in magazines, in conversations, on social media, right when you're considering a major life change. This repetitive appearance isn't random. It's a version of you from a reality where this symbol played a significant role in their transformation, now using it as a beacon to guide your steps. And then there are your dreams, those wild journeys where your mind roams free. Many mystics believe dreams are not fantasy, but portals, windows, where your soul travels to meet other selves, learning what they know, bringing back wisdom if you're willing to listen. Your dreams aren't just random neural firings or subconscious processing. They're windows into other realities, particularly those vivid dreams that feel more real than waking life itself. These dreams often carry the emotional weight and crystal clear details that distinguish them from ordinary dreams. When you dream of living a completely different life, meeting people you've never encountered in waking reality, or experiencing situations that feel simultaneously foreign and familiar, you're likely accessing the experiences of your parallel selves. These dream bridges allow you to witness and even participate in the lives of other versions of yourself. Lucid dreaming takes this communication to an even deeper level. When you become aware that you're dreaming and can control the experience, you're essentially opening a direct communication channel with your parallel selves. In these lucid states, you can consciously explore alternative realities, learn from the experiences of other versions of yourself, and even receive direct guidance about your current life path. And what about that subtle sense that reality feels off? Maybe you wake up one day and your favorite food tastes bland. You look around your home and feel like a guest in your own life. You walk into a familiar place that feels slightly wrong, the air heavy, the vibe strange. Ever feel like you don't belong in your current reality? Like you've somehow shifted into the wrong timeline, or that your surroundings don't quite match your inner sense of where you should be? This unsettling sensation, often described as feeling out of time or out of place, occurs when you're temporarily tuned into a parallel version of yourself. Some call this a glitch in the matrix. But what if it's really a sign that you've shifted, even if only for a moment, to a different version of you? Sometimes these shifts happen gently, through healing, growth, or conscious choice. Other times they're sudden, triggered by intense emotion or trauma, when your soul jumps to a reality better suited to your vibration. This displacement effect often occurs when you're at a crossroads in your life, contemplating major decisions or changes. It's as if your consciousness is sampling different possible futures, briefly experiencing the energy of realities where you've made different choices. This sampling process helps you navigate your current decisions by giving you a preview of where different paths might lead. Your strongest bridge to these other selves is your intuition, that quiet inner voice you sometimes ignore in favor of logic. But when you truly listen, you'll notice intuition speaks in nudges, sudden knowing, and the quiet pull that defies explanation. It's your higher self or your parallel self whispering, "This is your path. Trust it." Those sudden, unexplainable urges to change direction in your life, that inner voice that guides you towards something without any logical reason. That's your parallel self, who's already made that change successfully, beaming wisdom directly into your consciousness. These intuitive downloads can manifest as irresistible feelings that something needs to be done, even when you can't articulate why. It's as if a part of you in another reality, where the choice has already been made and the outcome is known, is sending you a message to act in a specific way. Sometimes these downloads appear as sudden behavioral changes, where you start adopting new habits, interests, or routines, without fully understanding their origin. You might find yourself drawn to activities you've never considered before, or you might spontaneously change your daily patterns in ways that seem to come from somewhere deep within. These changes often reflect the influence of a parallel version of yourself who has already integrated these behaviors and is now projecting that energy into your current life. By remaining open to these intuitive nudges and behavioral shifts, you're allowing the wisdom of your parallel selves to guide your evolution. Next time you feel that inner tug to reach out to someone you haven't thought of in years, do it. When you feel the urge to turn left instead of right, take the turn. These tiny choices can shift your entire timeline, aligning you with a version of your life where doors open effortlessly. Everything in existence vibrates at a specific frequency. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions all emit energy signatures that determine which reality you experience and which parallel versions of yourself you can connect with. Want to communicate with a more successful version of yourself? You need to match their frequency. But to truly tune in, to merge with the highest, wisest, most abundant version of yourself, you must become a vibrational match. Everything in this universe is frequency. The version of you living in harmony, love, abundance, and peace exists at a higher vibration than fear, lack, or doubt. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every action you take creates a specific vibration that resonates with certain realities while remaining disconnected from others. When we talk about parallel realities, we're essentially describing different vibrational states that coexist simultaneously in the quantum field. The version of you that lives a life of abundance and inner peace, for example, vibrates at a higher frequency that naturally attracts experiences of prosperity and harmony. To align with this version, you need to understand that vibrational frequency isn't fixed. It can be consciously raised or lowered based on the quality of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. So ask yourself, what thoughts do I think most often? What emotions do I feed daily? Do they match the reality I desire? Now I will give you 4 basic techniques for raising your vibration and connecting with your higher parallel selves. Number 1, gratitude. Gratitude tunes you into timelines where abundance flows naturally. When you cultivate genuine appreciation for what you have, you align your energy with realities where abundance is a constant presence. Gratitude is the shortcut. Number 2, forgiveness. Forgiveness aligns you with versions who found peace. Releasing resentment and anger frees up enormous amounts of energy that can be redirected toward connecting with your most harmonious parallel selves. Forgiveness is the unlock code. Number 3, compassion. Compassion connects you to your most evolved selves. By extending understanding and kindness to others, you raise your frequency to match versions of yourself who operate from love rather than fear. Number 4, joy. Joy bridges you to realities where happiness is your default state. Actively cultivating moments of joy, no matter how small, creates a resonance with timelines, where fulfillment is your natural experience. Joy is the magnet. The more you cultivate these frequencies, the more you slip into timelines where your best self already lives. Now, here are the best ways to strengthen your connection with your parallel selves. Number 1. The documentation method. When signs start appearing from your parallel selves, the first reaction might be doubt or confusion. These messages don't always come in clear, obvious forms. They often arrive as subtle nudges, strange coincidences, or feelings that seem to come from nowhere. The key to interpreting these signs lies in developing conscious observation skills and learning to trust your intuition. Document every strange coincidence, every meaningful dream, every moment of displaced feeling, every synchronicity that catches your attention. Don't dismiss anything as just coincidence. Instead, write it down and reflect on its possible significance. Over time, patterns will emerge from these recorded experiences. These patterns are your roadmap to understanding the specific ways your parallel selves prefer to communicate with you. Some versions of you might favor dream communication, while others might use synchronicities or intuitive downloads as their primary method of contact. For example, if you consistently dream about a particular place or person, it could be an indication that a version of you in another reality is trying to guide you toward a similar experience in your current life. The details matter. Pay attention to the emotions you feel in these dreams, the specific locations, the people involved, and the overall atmosphere. Number 2. The meditation gateway. In deep meditation, the barriers between realities become paper thin. This is when you can establish the clearest communication channels with your parallel selves. During meditation, focus on any signs or messages you've received, and allow your intuition to guide you toward their deeper meaning. Ask your parallel selves direct questions during these meditative states. The answers might not come in words, but in feelings, images, sudden insights, or a profound sense of knowing. Sometimes the guidance comes as a physical sensation, a feeling of expansion when you're on the right track, or a sense of contraction when you're moving away from your optimal path. Set aside time each day to quiet your mind and open yourself to receive guidance from your parallel selves. The consistency of this practice will strengthen your ability to perceive and interpret their messages. Number 3. Mirror work. Look into your own eyes. Speak affirmations as if you are already that highest version. I am abundant. I am free. I am love. This reprograms your vibration to match your desired reality. But go deeper than simple affirmations. Look into your eyes and ask, what do you need to tell me? Sometimes the version of you looking back has wisdom to share. Notice any thoughts, feelings, or insights that arise during this practice. Try different variations. Speak to your past self with compassion. Speak to your future self with curiosity. Speak to your parallel selves with openness. Each conversation opens different channels of communication. When signs start appearing from your parallel selves, the first reaction might be doubt or confusion. These messages don't always come in clear, obvious forms. They often arrive as subtle nudges, strange coincidences, or feelings that seem to come from nowhere. The key to interpreting these signs lies in developing conscious observation skills and learning to trust your intuition. Practice what I call conscious noticing. Throughout your day, maintain a gentle awareness of your surroundings, your thoughts, and your feelings. When something catches your attention in an unusual way, pause and ask, what might this mean? What is this trying to tell me? Learn to feel the difference between random events and meaningful synchronicities. Meaningful synchronicities often have an emotional charge. They make you feel something, whether it's excitement, curiosity, or a sense of significance. Random events feel neutral, while synchronicities feel alive with possibility. Applying the messages you receive from your parallel versions means being open to new ways of acting, thinking, and feeling. If a parallel version of yourself is guiding you to take a specific path, consider how you can adapt that guidance to your current circumstances and reality. For example, If you feel a strong intuition to change careers, even if it seems scary or impractical, this could be guidance from a version of yourself who has already made that transition successfully. They understand the challenges and rewards that await you, and their encouragement is based on actual experience of living that choice. Another practical example might be the persistent feeling that you should explore a new hobby, skill, or area of study. This feeling could be a message from a version of yourself who has already mastered this area and is experiencing great joy and fulfillment through it. When you follow this guidance, you're not just expanding your capabilities, you're also connecting more deeply with that accomplished parallel version of yourself. The process of aligning with your parallel versions and applying their messages in your daily life can be seen as a path of personal and spiritual evolution. Each new understanding, each change in behavior, each decision made from these insights propels you toward a higher version of yourself. This alignment not only accelerates your personal growth, but also expands your consciousness beyond the limits of what you previously believed possible. You begin to realize that your current reality is just one of many options available to you, and that you have the power to choose which reality you want to experience based on the frequencies you emit and the choices you make. When challenges come, remember there is a version of you who has already overcome them. Ask for their guidance. Sit in silence. Listen. The answer might come as a feeling, a dream, a song, a sudden idea. Act on it. That's how you walk the bridge between timelines. Aligning with your parallel versions not only guides you toward a fuller life, but also connects you more deeply with the fundamental unity of existence. You begin to understand that all realities, all versions of yourself, and all possibilities are interconnected expressions of the same infinite consciousness. This understanding brings a profound sense of peace and purpose. You realize that you're not struggling alone through your challenges. You're part of an infinite network of consciousness that's constantly supporting and guiding your evolution. Through this integration, you're not just shaping your current reality, you're evolving as a conscious being and opening yourself to infinite possibilities for growth and fulfillment. Every message you receive, every sign you interpret, every decision you make based on guidance from your parallel selves becomes a catalyst for transformation. You begin to see that your life is not limited by your past experiences or current circumstances. Instead, you have access to the wisdom and experiences of infinite versions of yourself, each offering unique perspectives and solutions to the challenges you face. The journey of connecting with your parallel selves is ultimately a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. You're learning to recognize that you're not limited to one reality, one set of circumstances, or one version of yourself. Instead, you're awakening to your true nature as an infinite being with access to unlimited possibilities. So the next time you feel lost, alone, or stuck, pause, breathe. Feel for the version of you who has already found the way through. Invite them closer. And remember, you are never alone. You are a chorus of selves, cheering you on from beyond the veil. Every message received, every sign interpreted, every decision made, based on guidance from your parallel selves, becomes a stepping stone toward a life that truly reflects who you are in all your dimensions. The communication is already happening. The question is whether you're ready to listen and act on the wisdom being offered to you. You are not bound to one life, one story, one version of who you think you are. You are infinite potential, unfolding in countless forms. You are the dreamer, the dream, and the dreamscape all at once.